It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Rudy, Shingle, Theophan. It's always a pleasure to be amongst great people. And I got a major giant right next to me. I got a giant, Mrs. Haiti, right? Once you're Mrs. Haiti, you're always Mrs. Haiti. A published author. She has a nonprofit organization to empower women as well as men to help them with their journey in healing. Today, I have a special guest. I have with me Mrs. Sandra Love.
Woo!
How you doing today, Mrs. Love?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I mean, it's going. Valentine's up. I see you still got the red.
I'm still rocking the red.
Okay, so is that your favorite color?
Well, actually, no, pink is, but everyone says I could look good in red. So
okay, so that's your favorite color. That's a power color. Passion.
Yes.
My favorite club, Arsenal. Yeah, they wear red. We wear red. Okay, cool.
It's a bold color.
It is very bold.
Mm-hmm.
The red is a very bold color, most indeed. We're here. To discuss some very sensitive subject matters, particularly, your book. It's called the Rising from the Shadows, My Journey to Self-Love and Freedom.
Yes.
Right? So your book was literally an emotional roller coaster. There's so many elements of your book where, I was telling my friend, I said, after reading what you went through, right. And you see people and you see them smile and you see them succeed and you see them achieve and you see them smile and you think like, okay, every person's life is perfect. I wouldn't know that you went through this tremendous experience of hell and chaos and darkness and you were able to overcome. Because when I see you, I always see you smiling, right? So Sandra Love, I see you smiling, doing the modeling thing, walking around. That's the Sandra that I see. I never think sometimes in my mind, I never even fathomed that, well, Sandra's a human like everybody else and we all go through things, right? Sometimes you see the person with the biggest smile, they went through the worst.
The worst. Mm-hmm.
And so we really gotta touch on this book. Tell me a little bit about yourself first.
Well, like you stated, I am former Miss Haiti International 2018. I am a business owner for Bella Beauty Lounge.
Okay.
And, I am a mother of 4 beautiful girls.
All girls? Okay.
All girls. And
you got
I love
girl
it.
genes.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's part of what
You're
God's
aiming for
plan.
boys now? You want to
No, I think I am done. I'm not aiming for no boys. But I do more motivational, inspirational. I think after what I've gone through in life, it led me to understand my purpose. And I can sit here in front of you and say, I know what my purpose is, And so now it's time to actually live in my purpose. Yeah. And so I do multiple things, I help different, some companies come to me and ask me for help with their companies in management sometimes. And I work and I collab with different organizations. I host, I kind of dib and dab in a couple of things.
Got your fingers in a lot of pots,
in a lot of things. And I also am in politics,
Okay. You in politics? I love politics.
Yeah.
I really love politics.
I just got into it, so I'm still working my way around it.
Okay. So again, it's diving in your book, it gave me a lot to reflect on because Valentine's Day was just past Friday.
Yeah.
And so I hear people in love and romance and getting in a relationship. When I read your book, I was just thinking like, me and my friends, we joke about like this dating market is horrible. But yeah, this is like beyond horrible. Like this, what you went through, because even the whole conversation, and I'm not going to give out everything in your book, but there's certain things I highlighted, even, you meeting your ex-husband, a lot of elements of the story that just made me reflect because you was about what, 13, 14 when you met him, right?
When I met him, yes.
And he was around the age 17, 18.
Yes.
Right. And that's something I did notice, when I read the book. And he was kind of like an individual who was like a leader in the community.
Correct.
Because he was a young youth pastor, right?
He was a youth pastor, at my dad's church. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your father wouldn't know. Like he's a, your father's a pastor as well,
Yes, my
right?
father
Okay.
is a pastor, and yeah, so it to me it looked very much innocent, and I remember I was young. I
13,
didn't
14 is pretty young.
I was like fresh, like
Yeah. And then, even when I read in your book, like there's early signs of control that you didn't recognize. You said per quote that he was your first boyfriend. He played a role of teacher in many ways. He taught me about my body, guiding my hands and showing me things. Quite frankly, at this age and time, I realized I was a 15-year-old girl and should not have known. And at the time, I've seen intimate and unique. It seemed intimate. It seemed intimate and unique. Now I see that it was the beginning of a pattern of control. At what point did you realize? Because being that young and impressionable,
yeah.
like how were you able to distinguish like something is wrong here? Because you're young. These 13, 14, I was like, you're babies.
Yeah, actually, I did not see it as something wrong. Honestly, I saw it as someone that loved me, that saw me and wanted to teach me. I looked up to him. I was young and he was this, guy that it looked like he had it all together. He's older than me and so I didn't see the signs. I really was naive to it because I didn't know what signs to look for. I didn't have the experience. So in my eyes at the moment, it was, to me, I was like, okay, that's what love was.
Do you feel that your experience with your exes, you've been with him for how long now?
Well, I was with him for 12 years.
12 years of life. Do you feel that experience like impact you in future relationships? Because that's something I encounter when I meet individuals who.
It did.
And how do you feel that it impacted you?
It made me more cautious, because of the person that I am. I'm a relationship person.
Wait. Listen, I'm old school. Rudy T is old school, okay? Rudy single, Theo for need to understand what a relationship person is.
A relationship person, for those who don't understand, it's more so someone who is prone to just being in relationships. Meaning, if I get into a relationship, it's longevity.
Okay.
It's hard for me to do 1, 2, 3 years. It always ends up long. It's I get into relationships and I stay in it. Like,
would you say that you're infatuated with the idea of being in a relationship?
Maybe. Well, I've always been, when I was as a little girl, I was always like in love with the idea of love.
Okay. Because I did notice the fairy tale.
Yes.
The recurring
so
theme.
I had this whole fairy tale in my head and I was so in love with the idea of love. I used to write poetry, love poems, as a little girl.
Is that why they call you Sandra Love?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
But I was always with the idea of love. I was like, I'm in love with the whole love.
With the concept of being in love?
The concept of love.
Okay.
And so.
Mrs. Romantic. Okay.
I'm very romantic. I love the romance.
Good attribute.
And so it was something that I was like, I wouldn't say infatuated, but I was like, how would I say it? Obsessed with it.
Obsessed with the concept?
I was obsessed with the concept.
Listen, I used to be suffer from I was a serial dater.
Really?
I used to love dating.
Meaning you're serial dating with just one person or multiple people?
Well, in my past life, just I used to love going on dates. If I could be in a situation where we can just go on a date, have a good date, have a good time, whatever it is, go home and I never see you again and just do that for the rest of my life.
Really?
At one point, I was a serial date. Oh, yeah. Dates were amazing. It's a relationship. It got other things, she's stressing you out. She got problems. Now you got problems. But with the date, it was beautiful. I used to love dating.
So you had to keep it like a separate budget just to...
Yeah, of course, listen, it's better to keep one. One and done, man. It's cost efficient. It's cost efficient. There was something that you did mention about how you were seeing certain red flags. And one of the red flags you mentioned was you went to church and your mother had bought you a dress.
Oh, yeah.
And you were saying how he essentially said that the dress is too tight and he got upset about it. Explain to me more of that red flag, particularly for the women audience, and as well as the men too, because sometimes, because in your particular story, what I realized was there was a lot that was taking place, but no one knew.
No one knew.
Right? So outside looking in, you guys look like the perfect couple.
The perfect couple.
You know, but explain to me a little bit when you revisit the whole notion, when you got your dress, you went to church.
And honestly, it was a red flowery dress. It was a 2-piece.
Red?
Yes. It was really nice. And
I've been telling guys about that color red. It's a power color. It was
a really nice dress. And my mom bought it for me for church. And I loved it. Like, and so I remember wearing it to go to church that day. And he just looked at me in disgust. And I kept asking, what happened? What's wrong? And he was like, oh, you wore this tight dress and you're trying to show off your body, who you're trying to like. And I'm like, my mom bought me this dress and I'm like 15. No, I was 16 years old.
Jeez.
I was 16 years old and I'm like, my mom bought me this dress. Like, and he was just, we got into altercation, meaning like verbal, like we were like, I was not understanding why is he upset, and he looked at me in disgust, like I'm out here trying to show off my body on purpose and in church, and that I was not dressing properly. And so he broke up with me.
And I noticed you did mention how it was devastating that he broke up with you.
It was very devastating.
And then
I felt like I did something wrong.
There was a cycle that I got, the pattern. Every time he had a breakup, you went to him and you begged him to accept you.
I begged him back. I remember one time even going on my knees.
Wow. Begging
him to take me back. And I felt like that was what love was. You know, showing him that I loved him and I needed him.
There was a passage that I read where you spoke about how he was in the pulpit and he was saying how single he was. So just for the audience to be clear and make sure that I'm clear, so you guys, the relationship was a secretive relationship, right? It
was a secret relationship in the beginning.
Okay, so in the beginning, it was a secret relationship, and then at some point he was speaking in the pulpit while you were there, and he was essentially saying, "I'm a single bachelor," and such and such. And so because it's a secret, you're like, not. I know my man is not saying he's single and having these the women in the church looking at him a certain type of way, and it sounds like it was devastating to you.
It was, but the more concept when he would do that, because he would do that multiple times, like during youth groups and stuff. So I remember one situation when he broke up with me, and he said, you know, he's done with me. And after that, I'll go to the back of the church and sitting there like literally so sad. And then he'll be, oh, I'm single, whatever. And I think he'll do it on purpose. Now that I'm looking back to it and I think about it, it's like it was all purposely done to get a reaction out of me, which he did, because my whole world revolved around him.
Okay. So if you can narrate to me about like essentially what transpired, because it was that, then you guys got married, you're pregnant, right? And you hid your pregnancy.
Yeah.
Well, this is a Tyler Perry, Netflix. I'm seeing season 1, episode 1, episode 2. So you got pregnant. What, you were around the age 16?
No, actually I got pregnant at the age of 20.
Yes, 20, correct. Yeah, 20. So you got pregnant at the age of 20. You got married, hiding your pregnancy.
Yes.
During the wedding.
Yes, I was 5.5 months pregnant.
So how you do that? So you just buy a baggy like a wedding dress?
Oh man, the story behind that. So, my stepmom took me to go buy the wedding dress, but we had to look for a specific wedding dress to hide my belly. So
your stepmom knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it got exposed because we had to say something, but That's all in the book, how we had to say, how I had to expose it. But because of that, we had to step down because he was the youth pastor, and I held some sort of title because my dad was a pastor. And so we had to be, what they call it, like when they put you on
like a punishment of some sort,
yeah,
like not a disfellowship, but like a punishment,
like a sanction, like is it, yeah.
I
Like a
haven't been in the
punishment
church.
where
I
you
haven't
can't.
been in the church in a while, to be honest.
But so we had to step down.
Mm-hmm.
But before we stepped down, we had to cover everything up. So because he held some sort of weight in the church and it did not look right, so I had to go shopping and find a dress that'll cover the pregnancy where no one would know.
Okay, so it wouldn't be visible.
Yeah, and I was tiny. I was really small at the time, so.
Well, you're not big now, but.
Well, I was smaller than this.
So at what point? Because I'm just looking at the whole concept.
Mm-hmm.
So he met you young. Did some psychological manipulation because, of course, he had the advantage of age, which is something that's very important, especially when I see younger women with older guys. I'm like, just be cautious how you navigate those relationship dynamics. So you have that, and then you get married. You hide that you're pregnant. At what point did the physical abuse start to take place?
Well, now that I look back, there were little physical abuse way before we got married. There were little stuff here and there, like a flick, and
because I did notice you used the word acute abuse, and I'm like, okay, so it's like small.
In the beginning there were little small stuff happening here and there.
What was an example of what you consider small stuff?
We'll be in a car and he'll get upset. We're arguing, and then he'll push me, like nudge me in the car, or he'll just try to push me out the car and stuff like that because roughly because he's upset, we're arguing. And so there were little signs of that. There are times where he argued, we snatched the phone out of my hand, and so there were those little things that transpired. But in my head, I don't know, he taught me everything I knew at the time.
That gives him the leverage. So then how did it evolve? So it came from doing that into...
he apologized a lot of times, and, he made it clear, of course, he had anger issues that he needed to deal with. But I was so in love with him, and he was all that I knew. And I made a promise to myself, a person who I'm with that, that took my, virginity, and someone that, I'm with, I wanted to marry him.
And that too, does that have like a psychological effect? I know, most just people, whether it's men or women,
Mm-hmm.
when you lose your virginity to that individual has it has some type of psychological effect of how they view sex, how they view relationship, especially that being the first person, and then you've been with that individual for 12 years. You feel that it impact you in any way?
It did, but the crazy thing is, even after that, remember he was showing me my body way before it even happened. So he trained me up to it. So he built me up to it. Me feeling my body, me knowing my body,
And this is just the reason why it's so cute, confusing. I'm just thinking about a pastor, like, yeah, let me show you about your body. Like this is
he's a minister, so
pastor, minister.
Yeah, I know, but
that is pretty.
He was also young as well.
Okay.
So, and I've learned now that my adulthood, I learned, he was also immature in some of his life, but to answer your question, with him showing me my body, there was a point of time where when we actually did the act, and he denied taking my virginity because I did not bleed like I was supposed to with it was crazy. And it you're like, yeah.
I mean, I have my facial expression. I need to fix that, but I can't. I can't.
Is it too much?
No, it's
Okay.
no. Listen. There's a underlining. I don't want anyone to see this and just think it's just all dark, because chapter 10 was, I was like, yes, right. It was yes, because chapter 10, it was the step that you took for the healing process. And I'm gonna be honest, if I didn't read chapter 10, I'd have been like, man, this is dark. Like this, I was literally thinking like, man, this is like a nightmare that just never end. Like, it gotta be something good. Even like, I know it's not a Disney film, but yeah. But when I got into chapter 10 about this rediscovering myself, therapy and healing, you said certain things. There's certain things that you said that I also highlight that was pivotal, and it was very important. First of all, I thank you for coming, right? Because this is more than just your book and your story.
Yeah.
Your story is not significant, right? And your story will impact others. I had a close friend of mine who was in a domestic abuse sort of relationship dynamic where it was something similar. Like the man said, I'm going to shoot you or your daughter, things. And I'm hearing this, and me being a brother, I'm like, why you didn't call me? She said, I was scared. I said, man, listen, like, so you also mentioned, and this is very important for people, how pivotal your support circle was, your friends and your family. Just even reading the beginning, how you just said, look, we're going to make a plan to leave. We got to get out of here. And you had your friends, your family, how you moving your sister. Big ups to your sister. That's the sister who birthday I went to?
Yes.
Listen, big ups to your sister. Listen, took you in a small space, you and your children.
Well, my little sister took me in.
Man,
but my
still,
older sister
big ups
was
to all of them. The support.
She was the
muscle.
The list, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I know, people have their relatives and things of that nature. There's some family members, they're not going to take you in.
Yeah.
I'm a person who, I come from a background where, my mother, Mama Scrap, always took people in. I always tell my friends, if I have a place, you have a place, so you have a place. And so some family members, they're not going to take you in. They're going to say, that's your problem. That's your business. That's your man. Some of your friends may do that as well. Some people don't want to get involved. But you had a pretty healthy, strong support circle. Can you explain to us how important that is and your discovery and your healing journey?
Well, it took a while to even have them support me, because I hid it for a long period of time.
So they wasn't aware. So they couldn't help you if they wanted to, because they wasn't aware.
In the beginning, because I kept a lot of things to myself. Because I remember there was one situation where I even mentioned something, and they, because of how much they loved me, they approached the situation where they approached him, and I told them, I still have to go home to him. So every time they approach him about something, I told them in confidence, I dealt with the consequences when I got home.
And that's more like physical abuse?
Verbal, where it leads to physical, depending on how intense is the argument. So because of that, I stopped sharing.
Yeah, to protect yourself. That makes sense. To protect
myself.
And then there was an element where he used like a gun.
Yeah. We were going back and forth, but I would love for you guys to read the book. But yeah, he put a gun in my mouth, pointed in my mouth while I was sitting on the bed, and told me to open my mouth. And with that moment, I realized this couldn't be my life.
I like I told somebody, man, you my sister, if I knew you back then, we finding this man. We beating him with stick. Haitian. We finding him. We beat it. We stripping him. We beating him with this is just because
It's kind of weird, because you also, like, I had the sense of also wanting to protect him too. It's weird, and not everyone would understand it because I had kids with him. So I didn't want nothing to happen to him because that's the father of my kids.
Yeah, it makes it complicated.
So it
and
makes
you have two children with him, right?
children with him. And so it made the whole situation complicated because I knew how much they love their father, but I was in limbo, protecting his face and then trying to figure myself out. So it was a lot. And even finding help was also challenging as well because not everyone understood and believed me when I decided to voice myself out in the church.
That's another problem. You know, that's another problem when victims are saying, "Hey, look, I need help," or I'm getting abused, and no one believes them.
No.
You know, and I personally believe in listening to the victim. Yeah, you're gonna have cases where people do make things up.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens time to time. But 9 times out of 10, I strive to be an advocate of the victim. And I want to discuss a little bit about chapter 10 because we're about to wrap it up pretty soon. Chapter 10 was like literally redemption. When I love how you spoke about therapy. There's something interesting that you said that I found rather fascinating because I literally share the same sentiment in a lot of regards. Where you said if it wasn't until I began therapy that the journey of healing seriously started. It was not an easy decision in my head. Therapy was for crazy people, and I wasn't crazy. And when you say that, it's something really interesting because I literally was brought up in an environment where it's like, why you want therapy for?
Correct.
You just need Jesus and prayer and some tea.
Correct.
So therapy is for crazy people. You're not crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the sentiment that I was accustomed to. So when you say that, can you just elaborate? Talk to me about therapy, the experience, because you did explain how your first therapy session was like, it wasn't the best.
It wasn't the best.
To say the least.
But you know, when you grow up in the Haitian environment, because you know I'm Haitian, so the culture is totally different. When you bring up therapy, they look at you crazy, like, are you okay? Like something's wrong with you, like you have some sort of mental illness and stuff like that. Like, so I always grew up to thinking like therapy was for people that were not there in the head. And so it was like, if you say you're going to therapy, people are assuming, already judging you, you know, looking at you sideways. When in reality, therapy was the best thing I did. I invested in myself. I did for myself. Because what we don't understand is, you know, there's a lot of build-up emotions in us. And sometimes when we go through trauma, we can't really put all those things in order. So it makes sense for someone who specialize in certain things to help us navigate through our feelings. Because sometimes we can't navigate it through ourselves. Let's be for real. If we could have done it ourselves, then we would have done it a long time ago.
We would have.
We would have done it a long time ago. I'm a true advocate for therapy because another person looking from the outside in, when you express yourself, can organize everything for you, organize your thoughts, and help you navigate through those thoughts so you can start your healing process.
How did you take your personal experience? Because I know you created a nonprofit organization to help empower others who may be experiencing the same, right? How did your personal experience motivated you to say, listen, I know that there's another Sandra Love out there that's going through the same thing. How did it motivate you to start your nonprofit? What was your pathway to that?
Well, my nonprofit started when I started getting through that healing process, and the love that I gotten from God, that peaceful moment. There was a moment where I was in the car by myself driving, and there was a peace over me. And the way God loved me, it was so unconditional. Like he walked me. I felt like he walked me through it. I didn't jump through it. I didn't fall through it. He walked me. He was patient with me and walked me through it. And so I felt like, wow, how many people need to be walked through certain things that they're going through in life to get them to that healing stage. And so my nonprofit was more so, I called it Walking in Love. Um, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are hiding certain feelings, are hiding certain experience because no one is taking the initiative to speak for real, like being authentic, being hardcore truth. We're always going around in circles. Like even growing up, certain things that my parents failed to teach me because they were afraid of it. Like even in church when we were growing up, the church failed to teach us about sex. Sometimes they were afraid of it because they kept tiptoeing
About
around
the
it.
subject matter, yeah.
So,
That's common.
but what encouraged me is that when I started talking just a little bit, someone would come back and tell me, wow, you just touched me, because I was going through the same thing. And so I kept going and I kept getting those responses. I kept getting feedback. And I was like, you know what, God, maybe this is my purpose because I'm helping someone.
Sandra Love. I'm telling you, this book it's definitely quite a read. I definitely would encourage you. I would encourage everybody to get a copy of Rising from the Shadow. But we're gonna end soon. But before we do, I do want to, I heard you got some exciting news in regards to your book. Is some upcoming event or something like that?
Yes, I have the book launch coming. February 28th. It's on a Friday at 7. It's going to be at MOV Fusion Bar and Grill in Sunrise.
I will be there.
Oh, man. Everyone should come out. Show support. Listen, honestly, I love my ladies, but I really need some men there. I need, and my thing is having a men's support system. Men's support system is totally different. When you're standing behind women, like it gives us a different kind of strength, and I believe in it. And I know there's guys out there that don't believe in domestic violence, that are against it, because it could be your little sister, like it could be
100%.
your mom, it could be anything. And so I want all the men that supports the movement, because even guys go through domestic violence.
Okay, I know someone who
even guys get abused. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. There's some guys that are in situations where it don't even have to just be physical. Abuse comes in so many different styles, mentally, physically, emotionally. So, there's guys that are in situations where they're not happy because they're constantly getting abused. And so I feel like this is for everyone. It's not a woman thing. It's not a guy thing. It's just everyone thing.
Fair enough.
And so I would love for everyone to come and show support, come out. It's for a great cause, and you will definitely get motivated and inspired.
Well, I most definitely am motivated, and I definitely want to, for one, as a man, stand in solidarity to help combat toxic relationship, toxic behavior trait, and most importantly, the abuse, right? Because we can't have it. 2025, we're going to thrive, right? We're going to thrive, okay? And we're going to pray. We're going to overcome. We're going to rise from the shadow. No puns, literally puns, right? We're going to rise from the shadow. And the most important thing is that you didn't just allow the situation to break you. You actually took your dark times and you said, look, let me put this in God's hand, God to guide me. And I don't want to get into more of the detail of the story, but you went to God to fix the things that I can't fix myself.
Oh yeah.
And it led you here. And I only see great things in your future.
Oh,
it literally was a pleasure. It was an honor to have you as my first guest. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh,
and to say so is an understatement. Okay. So keep on doing what you're doing. I will be there on the 28th. And I will be saying it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood in 28 as well. Do the book signing. And do you have any closing words?
You guys, I just want to thank everyone that has supported me. Party Starters USA. Oh my goodness, my sponsors. Emma's Kisses events. Who am I missing? Bella Beauty Lounge. Digital Billionaires. Thank you so much. Who else? MOV Lounge. It's so much of you guys that has been supporting me, and I do appreciate it. You guys don't forget to follow me at The Real Sandra Love 1, and you can also go on my website www.therealsandralove.com. So yeah, And don't forget, today is the best day of your life.
Okay, I like that line.
Yeah, that's my line.
Well, my line's more simpler. But before I do my closing, I do want to give a shout out to my neighbors. I would like to, thank everyone who played a part, directly or indirectly, and in regards to this. Give a shout out to Ace, Dave Burney who's here, Marsha for her support, my wife Des for the support, the Circle Brotherhood, my Large 315, my Vibes Talk family, my family in London, my family everywhere else. Okay, if I missed you, I apologize. More importantly, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Rudy Single Theophan. Don't just be excellent. I'm out.